Nice.
All right, guys, we're gonna start our second, uh, what is it called, podcast or just reading club or just discussion about Tower of God. This time we're gonna talk about episode 5 to 13. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. So I have Jesus and Thor. Thor.
Yep.
Okay. Uh, if you said yes, that's good enough for me. Um. So any comments before we start? Anything you want to say, guys?
uh, well, for one, this one is like, for me at least, it was totally different from the last set of chapters. Whereas with the last one, I had like, oh, this is very interesting. This is super in depth because of, future implications. Well,
Yeah,
with this one,
foreshadowing.
it's yeah. Where with this one, it's like there's some very interesting tidbits of information and you just need to understand it. But there were some things that actually like I never really realized, but that left me a little bit confused. And I just don't know how it works or whatever he's trying to say with it. But I mean, we'll get to that.
Right.
These chapters definitely are more related to characters. It is completely different from last week. And we didn't analyze Bam or Hiron that much. Also, last week I'd say I will talk about why you, why Yuri left his weapon with Bam and the overall plan of what's going on. And I won't talk about it this week. I will save it from the end because it is the overall plan. It is too much to talk about it. I think it will ruin the story of what we're doing now.
Right, right.
So
That
we
really
shall
is
wait
more
for
like
the
a
end.
that's more like the general story of the whole first season.
Yeah, I will save it for the end. And I think in the end we will cover that, like 3 hours talking here
Right.
because it's
So
too much.
so last week we talked about episode or chapter 1 to 4, almost 5, because 5 is kind of like in the middle of it. So by the end, Bam teleports to the second floor, and that's really where we want to start now, talking about the second floor. The first four chapters and 5, including the prologue, is more like, I mean, we only see a few characters, and then it's more like the like wondering about what the tower is all about, and then when you finally get to the second floor, you start to see what the tests are about, and you have no idea. I mean, everybody who read it already knows, so it's not a big spoiler, but you have no idea that the whole season 1 is gonna be just the second floor. It's like a big prologue to the whole story.
I mean,
I
it's
think
it's interesting that it kind of gives you a scale of how how big this whole climbing the tower is. Like if he can fill an entire season, basically. I mean, it's a very short season compared to the others, but
Right.
still, if he can fit a whole season on one floor, and it's just the second floor. I mean, okay, the second floor is probably a little bit bigger in terms of the tests,
It's pretty
but
important. Yeah.
um, like just considering like the next floor we are on, how many floors he has climbed, like in the meantime, how much time must have passed, like
Right.
while climbing.
Also,
It's
real quick,
impressive.
something that Esa you said in the blog notes is that like you know that he wrote the story and published it first. I can't remember where, and then Naver opened Line Webtoons and offered him to post it there. That's when he re-uploaded it, but he also changed a lot of things. And then on that, that's what we're reading, right? Line Webtoons, and then on his blog post he said, now that I get to redo it, I'm making the story a little longer because the first season was too short. And he said like the fast pacing ruined the flow of the story on the second floor, so he made it longer than originally. And I thought that's funny. And now that we have the anime, he's even shorter, so I don't think he liked that. Who knows?
yeah, I don't think Sue really likes the anime. Well, I think it's okay. He loves it and he hates it.
He likes it
Uh,
because it's
Whatever.
like it's like a honor. It's like it's honoring his story, But it could be better for sure, but we're not here to criticize. All right, so we're starting with 3 minutes each, just to bring some points, and then we're gonna expand on every point. Tori, you want to begin?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, what topic do I pick? Well, just like I said before we really started, there's some very confusing things. Like I mean, it's really out of the blue when Bam is like he is at the second floor, and then this voice speaks up and it's like, yeah, it's been a while since I warmed up, but let me explain the rules. That feels really off. Like, how can I don't know who is talking to him. Like, it looks like a lighthouse, but there must be someone there. And we know Leroro is administrating this test, but he is obviously not the one speaking, because he later states that, oh yeah, when Bam asks him if he had seen Rachel, it's like, oh yeah, no, in the last couple of last couple of tests I administrated, I didn't see her. So he cannot be the same person doing the announcement. So there's something that it doesn't get touched on at all afterwards. It's just like this one little sentence that just had me extremely confused, because it just doesn't seem to make sense.
What else?
Damn it, he stole that one from me.
What else?
Yeah. Damn it, which one was it?
Oh, come on, I thought you were ready, man. You told me you had all your notes. Well, your new notes.
Yeah, I just can't find it on my notes. Yeah, right. When they do the build a team test, Rag is still fighting, which is weird on its own, because, well,
Yeah, it
technically
is.
those who are fighting should be disqualified, but they seem to just, it's not really fighting because they're not fighting back or something. But he attacks Bam, and Bam seems to just stand there and totally space out. See, that was episode 8 was near the end. He thrusts a spear at Bam, and Bam's like just standing there, staring into space, and only a good chunk after Kun throws his knife and deflects the spear, and the spear is going way past Bam until he just snaps off and realizes, wait a second, something just happened. That felt really weird to me. Like, it almost seems like he totally just went blank on his mind, and didn't even process what was going on. I think there was he actually completely he lost consciousness at that moment, but something instinctively started working. I don't know, something must have gone on there, because it's really odd that he just stands there and just doesn't react at all. But yeah, I get back to that later. Also, one thing I noticed, it doesn't get touched on at all. When Bam and Kun talk in between when they run from Rag, from one scene to the other, suddenly Black March's handle is wrapped. So I assume that Kun was the one who gave Bam some sort of cloth to wrap it, just so it doesn't stand out.
Well,
interesting that didn't get touched on at all.
it is. I'm pretty sure, as you said, that it was Bam's scarf. Kun used Bam's scarf to wrap it up.
Okay, I didn't even. Then I apparently missed that. That's good to know. Thank you.
Anything else? Yeah, you didn't catch any more interesting things?
A lot of stuff, but not much. One thing that I found, not really weird, but later when the team at Leroro's test, before he does his Shinsu burial thing, and you just see some teams talking, and you
Hmm.
you actually see Narai, or the anima girl,
Yeah.
and like there's this guy with her who calls her Lady Narai, and I mean he's called Knight, so I think they might actually know each other. She might actually be like someone of semi-importance,
Yeah, you're not
and he's
supposed to know.
like a
You're not
bodyguard or
supposed to know
something.
people there, but somehow they know each other, right?
Yeah, or I mean, the other option is that he's just like some really weird night guy who just is like, I'll protect all the ladies and whatever.
Could
But
be. She looks like a little girl. So.
yeah, true. I mean, still, like calling her lady is very odd, especially since he's called knight. And so I feel like he might be some sort of bodyguard, but it also doesn't get touched on pretty much.
Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't.
and last thing I would like to quickly add is like at the door test, there's something like the clock in the background. Um, like they say, there's like a couple of different informations you get about it. One thing you can actually see is that it appears to move twice as fast as it should. Like every time you see the pockets clock and the background clock like
Yeah.
shown on the same thing, it's always double. But it later gets mentioned it moves in sets of 5, or something like that, which doesn't really add up, to be honest. Don't know how that's meant. Didn't really wasn't able to figure that out. But one thing I noticed while I was thinking about it was that in the anime, the clock didn't have 12 numbers on the screen; just only counted till 10. There was a little change they did in the anime that that I noticed.
Right. It is. It is different.
Yeah. Yeah, that thing that should cover the most important
What about
ones.
you, Jesus? What do you notice?
Yeah, there's not too many things that I have noticed. What I want to talk is concepts or characters, how they develop or how they show you in these chapters, these characters. So one of the things in chapter 5 is when the battle royale starts, Bam says something. Bam says the wind brings the smell of blood with it. So
Hmm.
how does Bam know about it? This
Yeah, that's one
smell
of
of
my
blood.
notes.
It is kind of off. And there are so many phrases about Bam in this season that are completely off his character.
Yeah.
We will get to that later.
What else?
In chapter 8, the concept of luck to go up the tower when Lara Rose deaths. And one of the phrases of Rack when she said, Rack, there's a funny comment when Rack says, I will gobble you up to make your strength mine. And it's pretty funny because it's a foreshadowing for the second season when he gobbles stones and gets his power.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I
Remember
didn't
which
either.
chapter?
That's pretty good. He says it in chapter 8.
Chapter 8,
In
nice.
chapter 10, they talk about the rankers. I couldn't say they are assigned a ranking in every season. When do we get a season? How much time it is season? We know that in the tower, a year is not exactly the same as ours, because he himself said that a year or a month in the tower is less time than we have here, less days. It's very interesting about that. Or maybe is it because Yahad himself said that there is 30 months in his country, that maybe 30 months are or year, and it's quite different. I'm sorry guys, I'm agitated. I've been busy. In chapter 10, when Bam can see auras, the aura of Anak, when he makes that bet with Leroro. I would like to talk about the tower structure.
Oh yeah.
And one of the concepts is he says, Johan Sung and Leroro say everything is up in the tower, in the top of the floor. But what is upside in the floor? What makes this tower so wonderful that everybody wants to climb and give everything they have before? who is the one fulfilling their desires. Is it true that you can find everything in the top? And if it's true, if I become a ranker, this is one of the things that happened with me, bothering me. If you become a ranker, you're supposed to give your wish. But why do you keep staying in the tower? Make money? You're supposed to be happy when you reach the tower. Even Johan Sung himself say that. I hope that you're looking for is more than the garbage that is outside the tower.
Right.
And
That's Johan Sung, because also Bam
yeah,
says that,
yeah, Bam also says that, and
but later.
that's one of the things that is kind of off with Bam in the first season, because that's way too mature for him in his character in this season. There are so
Alright.
many things that go ahead of his time to Bam.
All right. You have anything else?
Well, let me check. The human limits, the God's will. I want to talk about Bam on that when he said that
About what?
I
Sorry.
deserve to go up the tower. The stars on the side, and I would like to talk about Kun backstory. Anything else?
Oh yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
else.
Kun for sure. We need to talk about Kun. All right, guys. So let's see your points. Thor wants to talk about the lighthouse that I was talking at first. Also the spear. What happened to Bam with the spear? It was very weird. You're right. I also remember that. Then the rap about the Black March was wrapped with Bam's scarf. I think there's not much to say about it, but I'm pretty sure it was in one of the blogs. The clock and the timing. I'm gonna double check. I was trying to look at it while you were talking, but I couldn't pay attention while listening at the same time. Also, Jesus mentioned Rag foreshadowing his power. I think that's just. I mean, I don't know. Maybe SAU knew, right, that Rag had this power, but maybe just a coincidence. I don't know. Then about how many months there is in a year? 13, like in the 13 months, probably. Then the structure, which I think there's a lot to talk about the structure of the tower and what the rankers get at the top. I also gonna come handy talking about the ending of season one. I think we need to know, like, people have their goals and then their goals change. And even Evan, remember Evan says something about I wonder if Bam, if I wonder if I was like Bam when I entered the tower. And Yuri says, no, you haven't changed at all. Like everybody comes in with a desire, but like how many people really, really get what they want? I don't think anybody does. um, and then Kun's backstory, so that would be really cool. I only want to add a couple of things. I was gonna say also about Bam. He knows the smell of blood. That's really interesting because those are his thoughts. It's confirmed because he's saying something. You know that those are his thoughts. So he's thinking about the smell of blood. So he knows. How does he know it? First of all, and also about some of the comments on SIU's blog posts. So a lot of things that he said about the story, what he changed. I think those are very interesting. Um, and just a couple of things on Rack. I think Rack, like Rack's character is very interesting, and it was very funny. The whole season, I think, the whole season one showed Rack so well, and even as you mentioned in one of the blog posts that Rack is like his favorite character to draw. He's so funny. But what happened in season 2 and 3? Like he kind of, I guess he had so many other characters he had to draw. So let's begin with the lighthouse. What do you think about the lighthouse, Jesus? About the first lighthouse that is talking? Is that Lero Raw or is that one of the assistants?
Definitely, that's not the wrong. It is the way of talking and how does he express later on where the rollers are united with Lero. It's completely different. I don't think it is Johansson. When I first read Tower of God, I thought that was Yellowway.
Right.
The assistant
Yeah.
of
I
the
think it's just a
Cavaliers.
random
So
assistant.
that's not too much about it.
I mean, remember how Quant he also gives the same test to Rachel and Arcrion and Dorsey. I don't know if they really do the same test for everyone. or like, I mean, there's many questions, right? Like, what happens when there's only 10 regulars? They cannot do that battle royale with 10 regulars. But I mean, do they do it only when there's 400 or like a lot of them, or how, like there's a lot of questions about how they do the testing, how many new regulars they get every week, every month, like how do we know that? So I'm sure they have a lot of assistants whenever there's a lot of regulars.
Yeah, there.
I mean, yeah, sure.
I'm
They
sure there are
actually.
a lot.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Actually, at the very end of the chapters that we read, there's somehow I can't find it just real quick. Was just looking for it, but I couldn't find it. Oh no, actually, yeah. At the very end, when they introduce basically Ghost and Rossi, they mention that this is on the third area of the first test spot for regulars. So
Right.
we know there's at least 3 first test areas, and I mean we probably can assume there's
Right.
a couple more.
I mean, talking a little bit about the structure of the tower. We are in the inner tower, and the inner tower is just like a piece of land, as far as I can tell. And Evangel's condominium area is floating on top of it. So they have this whole like open area to test. They must have it divided somehow. But at the same time, the question remains like, how many regulars they get? Did they get 400? Did they get 800? Did they get 8,000? Like we don't know really how many. We just know about Bam and whoever is around him.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some calculations about like the average, amount of people living in the tower and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which were very interesting. I don't think they were very accurate, but
They're
I mean
not.
that it's pretty much impossible to tell, anyways.
Right. I think
but
it's just
like
meant to say. It's just meant to give an idea that there is
an idea, yeah.
hundreds of thousands of people in each floor. Each
That
floor is
actually
each floor is like a
was
continent.
billions, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Each floor is a continent basically. So.
The interesting thing about this is like the way they actually get to be regulars. There's several things that get mentioned in these few chapters. That's like, I mean, technically, those people never enter the first floor.
Yep. Nobody else does.
They all get. I mean, they get chosen by Hedon, but I mean, I assume there's some sort of waiting list, or like people can at least like be like, hey, I want to climb the tower. Can you maybe check something?
Like Santa Claus list. You are a good kid. Here's a list of the good kids, and then
Exactly.
okay, today we get so Heron is like a bouncer. Okay, we have room for 20 more regulars.
Yeah, I mean, I just assume that Hedon is like, okay, does he bring something to the table? Yeah, I mean, then he's in. Because like I think Kuhn mentions it that yeah, it was Kuhn who mentions it that chosen regulars must have at least one extraordinary talent to be chosen. So
Yeah.
I assume they're just like, okay, checks he does something. All right, let's get him in. Let's get him tested. Let's see how it
Yeah.
goes. And I think that like the second floor is like the quality control if they actually
It
worth
is.
it.
It also seems, at least for the first main characters, it seems like all of them lost something important to them, and like they all have a reason to climb. But it's like even the people who climb because they want money or because they want power, like Kuhn, like they have other reasons. Like his reason is not really to be powerful. It's more almost like revenge because his family kind of kicked him out. I mean, he did something bad, obviously, but like they all lost something. They all have had to with his family. What's her name? Selena, or I forgot her name actually. The lady that she didn't pass the second floor. She lost her whole crew. Serena. Yeah.
Serena.
Like
Yeah.
everybody lost something. Like everybody had a moment in their life, and maybe that's when Heron comes up and be like, "You want to climb the tower?" And now that like they hit rock bottom, and then Heron is like, "Okay, this is the moment. I'm gonna promise them their whatever they want." And that's when he takes them.
Yeah, I mean, it works for
I
many
should
of
have
them.
interfered before. Yeah,
Go ahead.
you talk a lot, and I want to talk about it too. You bring a really interesting topic. What is how regulars got chosen, and Hiro himself, if I'm not wrong, and couldn't say to go up the tower or to get chosen. Hiro himself has to see you to have an interesting talent or such a desire to for him to choose you. I want to save some things for the end because I think it's part of the overall plan. I want to talk too about the grounds of testing regulars. Um, well, I'm pretty sure there are many grounds of testing,
Yeah.
like multiple testing going around a floor. When we see Rachel and Rosie, but oh my God, I'm missing the points. I didn't point anything. Uh, when you I think there are many test directors like Johan Sung and Garuro and Quant. Like they take the same tests. Everyone has the same tests, but they are not allowed to meet.
Yeah, they must have like a number of tests that they repeat. Like, okay, this time I'm gonna give this test. Like they might come up with new tests every now and then, but like obviously it has to be approved by the floor administrator and by the floor ruler. Like they probably just have a set of tests that they repeat. Sometimes they change every now and then, but we all know that the floor ruler is the ultimate. Well, not the ultimate word, but below the guardian, the floor ruler is the one taking the decisions there.
I mean, they probably change it up depending on the numbers they get. Like assume like that, like
No,
for the one test, like only 3 people passed, and the next one there might be 100 or something. Then
Right.
they throw in an extra test or something.
Rachel's test was different because Quan met Saul because he was boring. He was bored and conducted the same the two prerequisite tests at once. Like it was not like narrowed down to 200 and they can
Right.
make a team. No, he did it like.
But that
make
was
a
on
team,
purpose though.
And there is a battle royale. So it doesn't matter if you just get 1 or 10 or 12. You just kill everyone in a set amount of time.
Yeah, but that was like
That's
that
why
was
it's
on
different.
purpose, right? Because Heron
Yeah, that was
like
on purpose.
like probably asked Yuhan Sung to make sure that Quan is the one giving the test to Rachel so that he messed up because they know he messed up.
Yeah, that's the overall plan.
Yeah, they're so smart, man. What about the Little Rose test? Let's talk about Little Rose because I don't think any of you mentioned anything about Little Rose test, except maybe the structure of the tower. So with Little Rose, we learned the structure of the tower, but also we learned a little bit about Shinsu and the different like pressure or density of Shinsu, and like a lot of people mentions how Bam on the first floor he just walks into the steel eel area, and I'm pretty sure they don't say this, but I'm pretty sure that it is the same like heavy density that Yuri and Wok Hike Song team encounters, and they complain. At some point this happens, but like
Yeah, that's
Bam,
they say it in that way.
yeah, Bam really like he has such a Shinsu resistance that he's never pushed by Lerora's uh, Shinsu well, and it's such a crazy thing, and I feel like it was such a big deal, but then it's not touched much after season 1. Like Bam Shinsu resistance is not like mentioned that much after that, but it was a big deal for us. Even if you like your first time reader and you look at that, you're like, wow, this guy is so badass. You remember that feeling the first time you read that?
Not only the first time. I mean, yeah, I actually had a theory on that. I was like, maybe the cave that he grew up was like super high density Shinsu.
Right.
like he had a natural resistance. But since it's confirmed was outside of the tower, it's highly unlikely that there was like Shinsu there at all. Which is also very interesting because he just gets inside the tower and is able to breathe, which also leads, like, there's some other implications of that. But
But maybe that's why they are so resistant, because they're like, maybe the outside of the tower, if there's air or whatever it is, maybe it's harder to be there than in Shinsu. That's why they.
And I feel like it's how do I say this? Because people are like the regulars, they are all born inside of the tower, and they like, even before they're born, they're in contact with Shinsu, and like, just like with everything, your body just naturally builds up a tolerance for it. And I assume, at least, that if you grow up on higher floors, you probably have like a higher Shinsu resistance than people who grew up on lower floors. But that
But it varies.
also, but it probably also can be trained, or that at least they can adjust.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of similar to when you go like climbing really high mountains, and you have to like make stops to let your body adjust to the lower amount of oxygen. Yeah, I think it's something like that that also applies there. And just Bam, just because he doesn't grow up with the natural like resistance to it, there, like, his body just doesn't have anything to doesn't have build a resistance. It just doesn't apply to him.
Right.
You know, that makes not much sense, but at least it's something.
Like Bam is some kind of isekai protagonist. He gets all the power, and we know that Bam, the internal power of Bam, is absorbing things. He makes things around him that hit him. You know, most of the things like Shinsu get inside him and don't affect him. And there is some theories about it. I don't want to talk about it right now, but we have to remember that Bam was born in the 43rd floor, not in the outside. So he kind of gets some high resistance Shinsu, maybe because he was born in a really high floor.
Well, the density of the Shinsu can vary even in the lower floors, like you see with the eel on the second floor. Even the high rankers of Walk Hike Song couldn't walk on the second floor middle area to get in between the first and the second floor, because just it can be on a lower floor, but the Shinsu density can be higher on different areas. So that's why each guardian controls different areas. I mean, they control the whole thing, and they change the pressure on different areas wherever they want.
Yeah, a guardian is the one. The guardian is the one that controls the Shinsu in a certain area, but we know for sure that when you climb up the tower and level is
higher. That's true.
That when you climb, it is higher. So we're talking about the 43rd floor, the floor of death, and that's quite high. And we know that Bam was born there, and last time we thought that he maybe was a baby, like years old before he was killed.
And this is a theory that
he kind of got that resistance.
Right, and there is a theory that I think you said, Tor, last week, that the tower is upside down underwater, and that's why the higher floors have more pressure, right?
I think that was Freyland who mentioned that.
Oh, yeah.
The Atlantis theory thing, yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting theory. It's true.
I don't like the theory personally, but I mean, not everyone has to, and it's a theory after all. But I mean, it does have some merits.
Yeah, no, like I said, even if you go to a higher floor, I'm sure you're gonna find some areas that are not as high pressure. But it is true. It is definitely said that the higher floors, like when they say above floor 20, you find this pressure Shinsu regularly. That's what Leroy says right now when we're reading, and
I think he actually says floor 30, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's at 20 or 30, but basically, like he says, you find this pressure regularly. But at the same time, we find very high pressure on the second floor that even high rankers couldn't go in, So that's really interesting. About the structure of the tower. So I'm gonna give you my take on the structure of the tower. I did a drawing a long time ago, but I haven't looked it up. But basically, to me, have you seen a staircase in the shape of a snail like a spiral, or what do you call this?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it is
think I
never
know
ending
the
when
way.
they loop on themselves. You mean the
Right.
one?
So,
Sorry.
but also at the same time, think of the steps of the stair as being each floor. So each floor is connected by the inner floor is the middle part, right? And then we have the middle area that connects each floor. I mean, each uh, ex outer area to the inner area, and also it connects each floor in between. So while the whole floor is separated from each other, like the outer towers are not touching each other, the inner and middle areas are. So that's the middle part, like the middle holding of the staircase, and then the steps would be the outer tower. That's like a physical way of looking at the tower. Like if you had to look at the tower in a physical way, that's how I imagine it, you know. But if it is something like I think Froilan mentioned last week, like different planets or different universe. Oh, actually, Mark from the group, from the Tower of God groups, he said also the same thing. Like they're from different, they're like on a different universe, different planet because of the whole tells user story. But I'm not gonna get into that. But the idea is that you can look at it two ways. It can be each floor a different dimension, like separated completely, or if you want to see it physically, it has to be something like the staircase, where each floor is a step and it just doesn't touch each other, you know. But the inner and middle area touch each other. Did that make sense, or am I just
I can follow you. Yeah.
all right?
Yeah. I mean, it's really tough.
You got me a really good idea of how the tower looks.
Yeah,
When
well,
you look
even
at in the play,
Little Ro
about
uses his lighthouse to show how it is, but like it makes no sense. It's just like three towers.
yeah, it's
That's how he
yeah,
does it.
it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I can see like it's like more of a simplified version to look at it. I can see why he did it in that way,
Right.
like the core and then like the mantle on the outside, basically the ring outside. That's like the living area and whatever. So it just basically to shows it somehow isolated, but not really. I mean, it's a pretty decent approximation.
Yeah, I'm showing it right now on the recording, but I mean, yeah, sure, he shows it, but I wonder if he can even understand. You know, like he might showing it just to make Bam understand, but like, does he understand how it works?
I don't really think anyone in the tower, like of the inhabitants of the tower, like fully understand. The guardians, maybe.
Yeah, no, Guardians for sure. So let me ask you a question. First, Jesus, what do you think? Do you think that every time Sahar climbed a floor, did he unlock all the people living in that floor? Like, you know, he was in the inner tower, climbing, let's say, from the 100th floor to the 101st floor, and then there was probably people living in the 101st floor, but in the outer area, not the inner area, because we only climbed the inner area. So, do you think that every time he climbed one floor, was there people in the outer area that got, you know, unlocked, quote unquote, and then Heron could bring more regulars from those floors? Do you think that's how it works?
That's quite interesting. When you had open climbed the tower, we don't know for sure if he just started in the middle tower. We don't know if it's,
I
we
cannot
don't know
hear
if
you.
there is we don't know if there is a middle area. We don't. Maybe it was after you had climbed the tower that this area were divided. Maybe it was just one.
Maybe that's a good thing. I
You
didn't even
know,
think about
maybe it
that.
was just one of a whole. So we know that you had not only climbing with the 10 great family leaders, he climbing along Maxot and
With some
Quadrado
natives.
and many other rankers,
Yeah.
many other people that are from inside the tower,
Yeah.
but who
But when did he meet them? Did he meet them on each floor? Like, you know, he entered the first floor, he passed the first test, and then on the second floor, did he meet new people? And then he went to the third, and then
yeah,
on the 10th floor, he met new people.
I
he's an
assume so.
adventurer. We
It's
know he's an
interesting.
adventurer, and I'm pretty sure he explored every single floor of the tower. He just not only climb it straight, like
But
we are used to, because you know the people climb outside with the he wanted to. When Jihad goals was to, you know, I don't remember what chapter it was, but it says that Jihad wanted to become a king not only because it was his destiny, because he took pity of the people of the tower, and the fact that they wanted to fulfill some desires that were not made for them, and he made all this whole structure of regulars and rankings, deaths. So he had to lead with these people. He had to visit these people,
Right.
look at them, and get friends. But along the way, we know that he gradually started to become a different person and get away from what he was.
So, Thor, do you think that
Nothing else.
what? Let me ask you something. Do you think that every time that, like, do you think that Sahar explored each floor, and do you think he climbed the tower faster than Urek, or that he probably took a long time to climb the tower? And more importantly, do you think that Heron was like like the deal between Heron and Sahar? Was it like, I'm gonna let you be the king, you're gonna climb, and I'm gonna send the regulars so that they can help you climb all the way to the top? Or was it like, like what do you think was the real deal between Heron and Sahar?
Yeah, one thing I like to say first is that actually there were no humans living in the tower before Zahar climbed the tower. There were some of them from the workshop, but not really like a population in there. It was Zahar who actually, and the 10 family leaders, who actually like made the whole human population in the tower be a thing. There were a lot of other humanoid species already living there, but actually the humans itself were like, they came like in with him. One other thing is that Hedon was the first guardian who was appointed. So I assume that he climbed the tower and there was some sort of like floor to floor thing already in place, but the way to climb the tower, I think, was completely different. I think it was actually that after he became king and started to establish the system in the tower, that he went like, okay, if we want to have people climb the tower, we have to, have some sort of guardian on each floor, and they have to be like, being controlled. And then he was like, okay, head on, you can be the one for the first floor, and then I need someone for the second floor. I think that's the way he actually built it.
Well, but I have a question. So how could he get help from other natives to climb the tower if they didn't make the deal first? Like, let's give an example, right? He enters the tower. Let's say he first met Heron, because that's what we assume, that Heron was the first guardian he meets. That's why he's the veteran, and he passed his test. And then on the following floors, he meets natives, and then who allowed the natives to climb with him? Because he climbed with some natives of the tower. Did Heron allow it? Did the guardian of each floor, or was it, or like I asked, like, was the deal from the first time when he met Heron? Be like, okay, now that you're climbing the tower, if you find people, you're allowed to take them up with you. But before that, nobody could climb.
I think that, like I said, the system was totally different at the time. Don't think there was like an actual go climb the tower and like you're chosen, whatever, go climb the tower. I don't think that was the thing at all. I think that the floors they were there, and you could, like, with permission of a guardian, like, you could pass between the floors. But I don't think there was like a test system or anything like that in place. So I just think he went like go in like exploring and try to contact the guardian and be like, hey, want to let me go up? And then guardian be like, yeah, sure, but I kind of want you to do this and this first because I don't know, I'm hungry. Bring me something to eat. Just a stupid example, but
I'm pretty sure
I think it was.
Yeah, because that's how they started to do the positions, and they had to claim, they had to hunt divine beast or Xianhu, and that's how they got that's how some of the head families became the first spear bearer, or the first light bearer, the first this and that, the first scout, like, because they had to take a position to beat certain beasts at the administrators, or maybe they even had to fight some administrators. I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
That's definitely a possibility. But I don't think really these positions, they could have just occurred naturally. I don't think they were like, hey, we need position,
No, yeah,
whatever.
naturally, I think so
That's
too.
it. They just occurred naturally, and I think like the tests per se weren't really like predetermined tests. I think they were more like that. They all took like the test from the floor guardian, be like, hey, want to go up? Give me a test. And I mean, then yeah, sure, they might have done. Like some floor guardians were like, oh, yeah, I want you to prove yourself worthy and go fight this beast which is really strong. And others
Yeah,
might have
because
just
remember
been completely different.
they're climbing the tower to get their dreams come true if they get to the top. So they have to pass all these tests. But of course, another thing that Jesus said is that, let's jump into this little tiny question. Did anybody ever get their wish come true? Because all the rankers go to the 100. We'll know that the rankers go to the 134th floor, and they all get wealth, and they get some power from Sahar, and they get sometimes a position. They obviously get ranked. That's why they're rankers, and they're like, they get some recognition, but unless what you wanted is some recognition, nobody really got what they want, because nobody has climbed to the actual top of the tower, right?
I don't think even Zahar and his friends got what they wanted when they climbed the tower.
Yeah.
I actually think the whole if you go to the top of the tower, you get your wish granted was a rumor from outside the tower that
Right.
they brought into the tower. And I mean, while they were climbing, then of course the inhabitants were like curious and like, hey, why are you doing this? And they were like, yeah, I heard that if you go to the top, you get a wish grant. And then, I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure some of the natives were interested in that as well. And that's how it spread, I believe.
The thing that keeps bothering me about that is that who told Sahad and the 10 great family leaders, yeah, go up this tower and you will get your wish come true. Like,
right, we don't know.
Who on the side told them that? And I don't know if I can talk about this, but I will say it anyways. Like Max said, the father of the workshop said that the origins of the workshop come from the outside the tower. So Jihad was not the first one man to climb the tower. There were many other people that kept inside the tower, but like never climbed it. Like the ultimate goal of the workshop is to find the origins of the workshop itself, and that it sits outside of the tower. So maybe another irregulars, or somebody knows an entrance to go inside the tower, or like the same path that Arlene go outside, and vice versa. So we don't know.
Right. So let me talk a little bit about the workshop. So I am looking it up because I didn't remember. But the first time we learn about this is on season 2, one of the blog posts. But the workshop is basically like a science group, right? Like they do experiments and things like that. But in one of the blog posts, it says Maxus, who is the father of the Gongbang, or the workshop, it also exists outside of the tower, and no one knows its origin. So right there, right then and there, that's when I became a big fan of blog posts of SIU, to be honest, because I was like, wow, this is not even anywhere in the manhwa, and now we know that there is actually an entity that exists in and out of the tower, but there's so little information about it. So yeah, how does that happen?
I mean, I do think that the towers like exist in like some sort of like they are in some world, and there are some towers. Just that the outside of the tower doesn't represent the size of
Physical,
on the inside of the tower.
Right.
But I mean, just it would be natural for people to be curious of like, hey, there's this huge ass tower. Let's send some scientists and let's do some experimentation. And I
But
think,
do you think that when Sahar entered the tower, I mean, obviously, let's agree that they knew about the tower, obviously, because they saw it in somewhere, or they saw the entrance somewhere, right? So they were like probably legends about it that if you enter and you could get your dreams come true. But do you think that the workshop existed outside and they are the ones spreading the rumors, or is you know, or are they somebody who actually got out from the tower, and that's how they are existing in and out of the tower?
hmm, it could be that they would be spreading rumor, but I think that's more of I think the rumors predate the workshop.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
it,
kind of my question. I wondered about that too. I don't know.
I mean, it, at least in my mind, it makes sense that like the towers existed. People started talking like, oh, hey, it's mysterious. As soon as people cannot explain it with science, people start theorizing about it in other ways, and that's usually how certain rumors spread. And wish granting entities behind mysterious towers, caves, whatever, that can be seen in many cultures across our world. So
Hmm.
I assume that that was kind of how it's spread with the population outside of the tower. Um, on terms of the workshop, it's really tough to like make an accurate assumption on that. Um, we don't know if Maxhef itself is actually a human. At least I don't think we know.
Yeah, we don't know. We
Uh,
don't know.
the fact that he can he can be both outside as well as the inside, at least as he is the founder of the workshop, and we know the workshop exists outside
Right.
of the tower. Um, one might assume that he is a human because, I mean, if he wasn't, then he would be walking outside of the tower. That would be pretty odd. Um,
Right. But let's go back in track with the topic so we don't get too far ahead. I'm sure we'll discuss this in the future, especially when we get to the 30th floor.
oh yes, of
Um,
course.
so let me bring back a different topic. Um, and then I think we should talk a little bit more about Shinsu, but um, the okay, we talk about the rap that Bam. So you said that Bam wrapped the Black March with his scarf,
His car.
and then what else? Oh, during the test of the time in the wall, the watch.
Ah,
So the time
yes.
passes is very strange, and the anime did it differently. But at the same time, I think what happened is that the clock on the wall is actually giving not the time, but the whole test. So like every time the test is supposed to last 10 minutes, but if you don't do it in 5 minutes, right, you fail. And the wall is just giving you 12 hours, but 12 hours represents 10 minutes. And if you don't do it in 6 hours, on the wall, I think is 5 minutes. Did that make sense?
In the anime, they done it better because uh, it is kind of the pressure because when you go in the text, Johansson himself said you got 10 minutes, but then the neon plastic bag outside say it is 5 minutes. It's a test of time. So Shibisu himself, Shibisu noticed this that it the watch didn't count 5 minutes. It count 10, but in the watch it goes twice as fast. So it's like a pressure test. I think that's the main purpose of that watch. There's nothing else. Yeah, it's kind of genius. What they did in that test. Like they know about Kyung Pads, and they know that many people don't go for it. And it's kind of a lesson. Yeah, nothing else.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I was the one who noticed it first. Like, yeah, it's It's actually like the way it's set up in the webtoon. It's like if 10 minutes on the clock, like or like one full rotation, would have passed like inside on the background wall, like that would have only been 5 minutes on the pocket. And I mean, the pocket is the like standard time or something. So like it would be according to the rules that like you have 10 minutes. I mean, they didn't specify 10 minutes on what clock. So I think that's how they made the difference between 10 minutes and you having to realize it's 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree. They definitely did that better in the anime when they made the clock only count to 10 and not to 12, which would make a lot more sense for this test. But I think the test actually was more like of can you choose like the lesser of two evils? Like for one, either you wait too long and you die, or you just open a door without any knowledge and pray for the best. At least the worst thing that can happen is you fail. You don't die at least. I think that was also like part of the decision you had to make.
Yeah, it was a lesson. You can soon say that the word itself won't work for your sustenance, or it won't wait for you to take a decision. Sometimes you have to go for it, and this is one of the qualifications now to go off the tower. Every single test is like, yeah, you need to require this, and we skip I think we skip the tag of level roll. And he said, when you go off the tower, what you need most is not the strength, nor looks, nor power. What you need most is luck, and it is what makes this tower so
Yeah.
so
But it's
real,
kind of
so good.
contradicting too, you know. Like for one, you need to be smart and
Yeah,
figure it out exactly what it is. Because I mean, I appreciate the level of this test. You know, like if you're too smart and you think too much about it, you're gonna fail. If you're just smart enough to figure it out that there is nothing else behind, there's no like second purpose behind each little hint, then you will pass the test. But if you're dumb enough not to think about it, you will also pass the test. So is it really like a fair test? No, it's more about luck, right?
yeah,
But at the same time, you could say yeah, it's about luck. But at the same time, it's not about luck because what if if the three people are dumb enough not to open any door, and I mean there has to be somebody that was like, okay guys, we need to do this in 5 minutes, because if nobody said that, they would all wait more than 5 minutes, and
I
also
do.
like the one thing I didn't like about this test is that they had to use the neon garbage bag or whatever his name is. Without him, everybody would have failed. Like they needed that hint of him. I mean, I don't know. Some people might have passed because they hear the screams, but I feel like I don't know. I didn't like that part of the test.
It was a plan for Johansson to make sure uh, some candidates or some regulars of this test pass this test because they are necessary for the overall plan.
Do you think that
So
if I mean Johan Sung wanted Bam to pass, so don't you think he should have helped Kun a little more?
no, I think that was enough. He knew Ragwe was so stupid to open the door, so
Yeah. Oh,
he did.
actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe he wanted him to fail and just get Bam right there. Like, okay, you failed. Now follow me and you'll be trained on FUG.
All right, that would be way too easy, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the regular has died, but what do you do with the Black March? How do you send it for jury?
I mean, that'll
Mm,
be a different story.
I mean, the Black Marsh would still be on the floor, and like they could just leave it laying around, and then just like, oh, hey, look, Anak just happened to stumble upon it. What a coincidence! Yeah,
No, everything happened very like me. I think almost. I don't want to say perfect because there's no perfect, but like it was a well done plan. from every
Yeah.
aspect, I think. All right, guys,
They probably had to improvise at a lot of points, but I think they just like they planned so much ahead that they could, adopt the little changes and be like, okay, like we have to do it slightly different, but that should be okay. So we still should end up the same result.
Right. So I think we cover almost every point except Khun backstory. So if you guys want to say something about it, the only thing I have to say about Khun backstory is that um, it all makes sense and it's repeating itself because what Khun did is help, a girl of one of the family, one of the what do they call it? The family, and then there's different sub families or whatever they call them,
Yeah,
and
family branches.
the branches, right? So he helped a girl from a different branch, and not the princess, or not the candidate from his own branch. And now he's doing sort of the same thing, but at a bigger scale. He's helping Bam, who is like the candidate, sort of like the candidate to become a king because he's being used to kill the king. So now he's also doing the same thing, but at a bigger scale, helping Bam. I think it makes completely 100% sense. It makes complete sense, and it's like I don't even know if there's a word for it, but it's just like you know, uh, like not even an analogy. It's just like the story is repeating itself, but at a bigger scale, and it makes sense, and it's perfect. That's all I have to say about it.
I mean,
Well, I think that. Go ahead.
no, you go first.
So I think that coming back story, it adds so much to the story. So in the anime, they confuse so many people. The anime and the webtoon confuse many people. So in the anime, many people don't get why Kung is so attached to Bam. So I have seen many complaints like, yeah, the character is boring because he helps Bam, and Bam is like the ultimate. How do you say, Gary Stew, because he gets everything and everybody wants to help him.
Yeah, but it's not like that. Like in the manhwa,
We know
they
that.
make it more like he earned everything. Like even his point of view makes sense because he just why doesn't he know anything? Because he literally just jumped into the world for the first time. Basically, he was in a cave. Like I think in the anime they just didn't have time to explain a lot of things.
Still, even in the anime, if you just think about it for a moment, they pretty much they said very early on that Bam he knew nothing but the cave, and that's where he grew up, and he didn't know anything about the tower. And as soon as you think about it a little bit, you could come to that conclusion that that's why he appears very bland.
Yeah, but why did Kun like quote unquote fell in love with Bam?
Yeah, I know, I want to talk about the anime because uh, there's so many people that watch the anime tend to overlook things because what we're doing now is read the manga from the very start again, so we can notice the small things, But in the anime, so many people overlook all these things. Like they don't know. There's so many people confused. They think that when they go up the towers they are already like in the fifth floor or the sixth floor because it's never explained. And with Barney it's the same. That why is he so dumb? Why is he so? People even call Bam a simp, and I can't forgive them because you can call that boy a simp. It really breaks my heart when I see people calling him a
I
simp.
don't mind that much that people call him a simp. I mean,
It's
I
not.
definitely wouldn't call him that, but I don't mind because people nowadays they take a trend and they just run with it. But he's not a simp. It's not that he's in love with Rachel. It's that he's obsessed with her because that's the only person he had.
It's his straw. Like
He's just
he doesn't
like
have
a
anything
foster
else.
mother.
Yeah, and he's
He's like
changed after he had new friends. So
not that much. He's still quite dependent on her, and he
uh,
still wants to be with her.
But
So
he has strong reasons though. Like she knows about his past. And there, like I think he suspects that she knows more than she let him know, and then she told him, like, oh, you don't want to know about your past, like she teased him like the little bitch. But anyway, that's too much in the future. Let's go back to Kun.
all right, so current relationship with Bam is one of the how to say main main plots of the story, because we know that Kun is really interesting, and when he met Bam, he completely changed. Even from the chapter he found him in, I remember, chapter 6, his point of view really started to change. And what is his backstory, and in the anime is better explained, is that when he see Bams, he see himself like wanting to do everything for Maria, and that's why he follows her.
Right.
And
They
that
explain that
I
better in the anime than in the manga. Like in the anime, they clearly compare Bam and, well, Kun and Maria's relationship with Bam and Rachel. But in the manga, they don't do that clearly. They kind of split, like they kind of separate Maria as a different story plot, and they put just Bam and Kun together as like Kun is now helping Bam instead of helping Maria. But you're right, in the anime they do this like comparison between Rachel and Maria, kind of.
Yeah, I
yeah
think what's very interesting is like the way in the webtoon they don't really like make it clear at all that that's why Kun is helping Bam. It's like, yeah, there's this backstory and there's rumors, whatever, but it's never really like, hey, this like Kun is reminded of that, of his past self. Um, it's never really stated in any way, shape, or form. It's just randomly put in there, and like if you like, you really have to like look at it in that way to even make the connection.
Right.
in the webtoon, to look at the relationship of Bam and Kun, you really need to look in deep into, because it is not well explained, but in the anime it does. That's why I think the anime is strong point, because if you compare the two of them, many people complain that there is so many things in relationship characters that were skipped in the anime, but also one of the main focus of the three characters, it is well done, like Kun and Rag and Bam Kun, and the main trio, and that's one of the strong point of the anime. There are still many people complaining about it.
I
Yeah.
mean, there will always be people complaining. I mean, that's beside the point. Yeah, I actually think that also this scene with the neon punching bag, or whatever his face is called, I think they did that better in the anime as well. Like it showed Kun like snapping for a second, which I found really interesting. I know a lot of people didn't like that, but I personally really like that. Um, what I find interesting is that in the, the initial way he gets interested in the webtoon,
Hmm.
like Kun gets interested in Bam in the webtoon, is slightly different actually. It's more like, huh, I don't know. There's something odd about this guy. I don't really get it, but let's find out. While I feel like that in the anime, it's more like, huh, he seems to be rather innocent. He has something, some aura that I somehow recognize, and I want to know what's behind that. It's more like it's more specialized in that way. It's not like this general, huh, he's mysterious
Well, it's kind of
kind of
like
interest.
when Endorsi found Rachel. She said that he didn't want to mess with her because she felt like she was from a different world. She was not from the tower. So it's kind of the same vibe when in the webtoon with Kuma and Bam.
So I want to read something from chapter 13 block real quick, maybe to end the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
thing, because yeah, I almost forgot. But first, they talk about Kun on this blog, and the one thing that I like is that SIU says Kun is a character I am personally attached to somewhat. Out of the three main characters, perhaps he's the most human, and it's really weird because I never consider him to be the most human. I think maybe if he's a real person, he's like exceptional. You know, like he's so smart, but uh, I don't know if he meant in it because he's the one that actually falls in love with people. Do you think that's what he meant? I'm gonna read again. He said, out of the three main characters, perhaps he's the most human. He acts cool and tough, but he actually sways a lot and he's sensitive. I, I mean, Bam is sensitive, but he doesn't fall in love. And well, Reich is a different story because obviously he's just in love with bananas. But I
And
think
chocolate
that's
bars.
the reason. I think that Kun is just like the one that fell in love with Maria, and now I don't want to say that he fell in love with Bam because I don't think so at all. But some people might say that. But he's definitely like, he's in a strong friendship with Bam. Is that why he's the main? Uh, is that why SIU said he's the most human?
I
Mm,
actually do think that is more because of his choices, his actions, or like his decisions, I should say, are the most relatable, I think. It's like with him, you can, like, yeah, it makes sense why he would choose this, given what we know. This feels like a decision that yeah, if I would have been betrayed by whatever, and my mother's last words to me before I got kicked out were like, you can never make another mistake again. You only trust what you can like confirm, whatever, everything that you wait. What does she say? Uh, don't trust anyone. Yeah, she literally says, "Don't trust anyone. Only walk on the paths that are best for us." Like
Yeah.
if that's the last thing you remember from your mother, and some neon punching bag comes up to you and it's like, "Hey, I have a tip. Like,
But he
there's
trusts
5 minutes,
Bam.
whatever." Like he won't trust that. Like that's absolutely understandable. Meanwhile, Bam is like, "Oh, wow, thank you, Mr. Nice Guy." Like no one would say that. That's totally. I mean, that's
I
typical
don't
for
know.
Bam. It makes sense, but like in a like it wouldn't be the human reaction. I think that's what he's getting at. I mean, and
Uh,
Rack is not the most intelligent gator out there.
yeah, Reich is not a good comparison, but okay.
when she say that, I think he's right because as we know that Rock is not really exploring this first season, so you can tell that he's that much human because he's not like the comical relief or something. When we talk about Bam in the first season is like this completely blank paper that goes absorbing things and learning things as we go out of the tower. Like you can project yourself as Bam and go up and top the tower and learn many things. But when you meet Kun, that Kun knows these things. Kun suffers. Kun has a story. Of out of the three of them, we got more story about Kun. Even though we have only one chapter, he's the one that thinks more about the things, the tests, other relationships, and tries to understand Bam and Rack, and he even looks for his teammates to go up the tower after we go up the floor. And like Thor said, that he's more human because he's wary of the people. He's he's ready to give up or
To
make people
care.
fail to go up the tower, and that's how life works. Because when you go the outside, when you go looking for a job, there are many people that will never hesitate to step over you and even make you fail in life, in work, in love, in all the things. And Kun has gone through these things, and he's ready to do that. So I think I'm 100% agree that out of the three of them in the first season, yeah, Kun is the most human of all.
I guess. Then we have Rachel, but that's another thing. We're not gonna talk
Yeah,
about
that's another thing. But
that.
Oh, I'm waiting for
yeah,
So
that chapter. Yeah.
yeah,
so
and
one
maybe
last thing
talk about
on
who could contribute with her. But
the blog post, and this is not related to the story actually, well a little bit. I'm gonna read it. Tower of God is a story in which I use test. Wait, no, that's not the part. No. Okay. So yeah, basically, I'm gonna read it and again. Sorry. Tower of God is a story in which I use tests and games for the bigger storyline. Finally, it is time for the crown game. I will need lots of preparation. Maybe resting a chapter will be needed. So he was gonna take a break. My wrist would need a checkup too. Well, that is not a problem. I can choose myself, so it will be decided after my wrist is checked. Tower of God will be a long run, so I am not going to hurry too much. Hope you readers can wait week by week until the end together. So like already like back then, I was reading this already like pretty sure I was up to date, and I remembered his first break because of his wrist, and he's taken what 2 or 3 only breaks all these years. I think he's very I don't know if brave or stubborn, but like he's been writing for so long with very little breaks. I think that this break he's taking right now, I hope he takes a long break and he really recovers and takes good care, because this was the first break. Remember,
yeah,
this is chapter 13. Chapter 13, and he already takes his first break, and since then he's only taken like 2 or 3. I could be corrected, but that's my estimate.
Since then, 3 breaks
he kind of
actually.
worked
Yes.
alone. He kind
Uh,
of worked completely alone, and he attended military service
Yeah, if he didn't
in
have
this time.
helpers
So
now, it probably would be
I
more.
think she is a real passionate man. Yeah, yeah, I think he is a really passionate man. I love that. A man that loves what he does a lot
Oh yeah,
and loves his fan base. He's really worried about his team. So he even goes farther than a normal outdoor to give this story. And I really hope he really takes a long break because he deserves it. And I hope the webtoon and the anime to look at it so I can read over and over again and I can still wait for him.
all right, guys.
Definitely
So
agree.
let's end this before it never stops and we keep talking forever.
That sounds
Uh,
like a good idea.
yes. So next week we're gonna do. I actually forgot what chapters we're doing next week, but I'm
Let me
sure
check.
we'll have it posted, so it's fine. And hopefully we'll get Froilan to join next week. But thank
And
you
maybe
guys.
some others.
Maybe some others. Maybe it's a shame that the first time we did this, we didn't record it. And we had like 5 people, I think. I don't remember, but we had more people. But it's fine. I am happy with you guys. I don't want to have like 5, 6 people every time because then we don't have time all to talk.
Yeah, for next one we said cron game, the rest, and the position test, which is chapter 14 till 30.
Yeah, it's gonna be a longer run, a longer read, but
This is way too long.
yeah, it's gonna
I
be
mean,
fun.
a lot of it is crown game, and like crown game has some very important scenes, but has a lot of action to it, and I mean, action takes a lot of screen time. So I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
fine.
Yeah, we'll get to talk a lot about Rachel, I think.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
All right, guys.
I want to talk about Rachel so much.
Don't worry.
I feel you.
We'll do
See you next
just
week, guys.
Rachel talk one day.
Or shall we do it this week? Because shall we do it this week? This chapter like Friday because we got stuck once 1 week.
Maybe. Let's talk about it in the chat. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Take care. Talk to you next week.
Peace.
See you. Take